It says there are 5 participants. Are you? I'm since I'm in the presentation mode.
Yeah, why don't we start in 1 minute? Some people are still coming in. I see nine
Okay, we have
now.
9 participants. Okay, I just couldn't see the screen. So, welcome everybody. I'll just start by introducing myself. I'm Sharon. I'm an enrollment coordinator here with CIEE High School Summer Abroad Programs, and I just want to welcome you to our virtual fair. Thank you guys for all jumping on in and hanging out with us tonight. I have two other guests, which I'll allow them to introduce themselves. We have an alumni and we have another enrollment coordinator. If you want to introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Asya. I'm also an enrollment coordinator in New York City, and I'll be supporting Sharon's and Sana, who can introduce herself. Sorry, my cat keeps meowing.
Yeah, I'm
Awesome.
Sana. So I'm an alumni and global ambassador at CIEE, and I went to Singapore this summer. So I'm excited to share my experience.
Awesome. And so we'll move we'll get started here in just a second. And I just want to, disclose that we'll move through the first couple of slides pretty quickly, just out of respect for Sana. She'll be exiting the presentation around 7:30 Eastern time. And so we still want to be able to hear from her, and then we'll continue on with additional Q&A and touch on some other things if you feel like you missed it. But right now, so today this evening, we'll be discussing the Global Entrepreneurship Program. We have those programs in several different destinations, in which we'll hear from Sana, who attended the program in Singapore. Um, All right. So a little bit about CIEE. We are the the Council on International Educational Exchange. We've been around for 75 years. Most of you probably have heard our general info session presentation. We support over 30,000 students every year across from all of our programs, college abroad, teach abroad programs, as well as high school, summer, gap, and semester abroad programs. As well as we have some inbound programs as well. We are a nonprofit organization, which is why we are a nonprofit study abroad program that has one of the largest scholarship funds for U.S. high school students. So thank you again. Um, each year we offer about $6 million in scholarships. So we're excited if you're applying for one of those. Good luck, and we're excited to review your application soon. So here you can kind of see where some of our summer abroad programs are at for the with the orange dots. So you can kind of look a little all over if you're not familiar with those. But again, we know why you're here. You're interested in global entrepreneurship. So a little bit about our topic programs. This gives students an opportunity to explore a career path or a passion, um, such as global entrepreneurship. These programs again are in Berlin, Dublin, and Singapore. So super cool. We also have like other programs such as, our aquatic ecosystems in Portugal, wildlife conservation programs. And if you're interested in those programs, you can definitely contact us, outside of this presentation and learn more about those. On these programs, students will always complete a final project and presentation to highlight their international experience. And so you can kind of see some of the different topic programs that we have on the slide. Um, and so, what it's like on programs with shared accommodations, maybe we'll hear a little bit about Sana's experience, and kind of, whether she stayed in, homestay or, a hotel dorm, kind of style housing. But that can look like students being placed up to 4 students per room with a shared bathroom. And this solely depends on, the fact that students have their own bed. As well as the capacity and the space of the homestay. And then also program leaders, which are also, another term for our chaperones while you guys are on program. The ratio for that will kind of vary between 1 to 10 one program leader for every 10 students. And program leaders will actually live in the same accommodations to provide 24/7 supervision for programs that, excuse me for my slides jumping back and forth, so that they can support students 24/7 and supervise as well. So this is typically what your day-to-day looks like. I'm going to kind of skip through this so that we can get to Sana's presentation. Um, but yeah, so we will pause right there because my computer is kind of jumping back and forth. So we'll go through this. And so why do global entrepreneurship abroad? Each and every year, one of CIEE's global entrepreneurship programs are located in an area thriving with startups and with people itching to ideate. And so we'll let Sana talk more about her experience.
Right. So I went, as I said, to Singapore. So very big hub for startups, and it was an overall great experience. I mean, I had the chance to talk to startup founders, and it was fascinating, to be honest. I honestly have had no intention of building a startup when I first entered Singapore, but leaving Singapore, definitely a future goal of mine. And my personal experience with the Global Entrepreneurship program really showed me that studying entrepreneurship globally is the prime way to explore my passion and thrive under like the prospect of building a business. So during this program, you're assigned to make your own startup or ideate your own startup. So I mean, this is experience that you will only gain at CIEE. You're paired with different students from across the country that you've only met a week ago, and suddenly you're building a startup or a business, which is once in a lifetime opportunity. And I believe that the global entrepreneurship perspective is only fully seen when in an area you aren't comfortable with, and the study abroad opportunities are the perfect chance to involve yourself in the larger world. So, when for me, our cohort was relatively smaller. It was about 16 kids, and I didn't know any of them, but our teacher assigned groups from the start, from the first week, I believe. So at first, I was very uncomfortable. I mean, I only met these kids a week ago. How can I expect to um, make an entire startup with them? But as time progressed, this uncomfortable setting became somewhere I could really engross myself and fully immerse myself in the experience, because in the real world things don't go to plan, right? You don't always get to choose who you work with, and it was an overall great experience. So that picture, I'm actually in the back. That wasn't part of the startup at all. As previously mentioned, there are plenty of experiences to just explore Singapore by itself, and I'm sure the other, Berlin Global Entrepreneurship and other study abroad programs with entrepreneurship had the same experience. I mean, there are countless activities that you participate in outside of just a startup, so you can really have that global experience. So I believe that photo was taken. It's like similar to what do you call it, like the car, like the bumper cars, kind of. Not really, but that's the closest I can explain the experience to. It was really fun. Nothing to do with entrepreneurship again, but a way to bond with the team and get to really know each other. And the next slide, I think, and I don't think I can move to the. Oh, okay. Wait. Yeah. So, well, as you can see, plenty of cultural experiences. The merlion, which is Singapore's iconic uh animal, and the light shows, and the photo on the right is actually in the airport. So Singapore's airport, for people who don't know, is one of the biggest airports it is the biggest airport in the world, and there was like 9 levels, and we visited it often. And honestly, it's this program goes, even for people who are interested in entrepreneurship, it goes beyond this entrepreneurship program, and it really gives you that global perspective. So I think, that was an amazing experience. And the next slide. Okay, so these are more photos that I took in Singapore that were just amazing photos, and really shows you that we had a lot of fun. It wasn't just morning to night ideation, but it was at some point. But in the middle, there were plenty of experiences that we wouldn't have gotten anywhere else. And on the left is a referral code. So if you guys are ever uh, in need of a $200 discount, use my referral code, and it'll give you that discount, or like a push maybe to apply for the Global Entrepreneurship program. I mean, I don't. There's no other word to explain it than it was like a very, very unique, and an experience that I would definitely do again if I had the chance. And yeah, I highly recommend it, especially for people who are interested in the entrepreneurship, or maybe just the global perspective of it. It was a great experience. Oh, and about the homestay, or not the homestay, um, I know it was mentioned earlier that different places have different accommodations, but as for Singapore, it was a hotel room, so you shared it with one other person. And being completely honest, the hotel room was on the smaller side, because it's Singapore. Everything is slightly smaller than it is in America, but you never had to clean because when you leave, the people already clean it for you, and then when you come back, I mean, it's all set up for you to take a nap or to sleep, and the bathroom is always clean. So that's the merit of it, although it is slightly smaller. And yeah, I think that was it.
Well, thank you so much for
Someone
your
asked
presentation. Yeah,
in the
Austin, jump in.
chat,
Yeah.
how did you do laundry? Yeah.
So actually, there was a place to do laundry at the hotel. So all you had to do, it was really simple. I mean, you just put the coins. I think it was pretty expensive though, maybe $5 for a load. But you're not going to be doing laundry that often. I mean, I did laundry maybe 3 times, I think, in the 3 weeks. So yeah, and it was slightly difficult to get the first time I couldn't get I couldn't do my laundry because it was all everyone was using it. But once you get the hang of it, I mean, it's relatively simple.
What do you miss most about your experience?
Definitely like waking up and then being able to just explore and then go to class. And I mean, it's like getting a step into adulthood, if that makes sense. I mean, back in New Jersey, I can't just leave and walk to the the trans metro station and like eat snacks and bread and stuff. So it's really it gives you that sense of independence that you can't find in when you're 17 or 16. It gives you that step into adulthood. And yeah, it was amazing. It was a great experience.
Can you walk us through what maybe a day in the life looked like for you on the program?
Yeah, sure. So um it would start pretty early. I mean, I just usually woke up early. As a rising senior, I had to get those college essays done. So I woke up around 5 or 6, and then I would just do my own thing, maybe finish some homework, because I know sometimes the teacher would assign homework. And I think classes started at 8. So then I would with oh, they provide complimentary breakfast, so I would go get breakfast with friends, and then leave around 7:40, 7:30, and then get to class by 8, of course, always being punctual. And classes ended at 12. And I think. And then we had like a 1 hour period to just get lunch. They would usually direct us to like a new place every week or every like few days, and it was great. I mean, uh, they're all like how do I explain it? Like every location was so different, and it was really interesting to see the different people there actually, because I remember like waiting in line and I would talk to the people behind me, and they were employees, or maybe they were students, or they were just tourists. I mean, it was like a different demographic every place we went, so that was also really interesting. And then maybe around 1 we would all gather together and we would go somewhere. So like I said, um for example, the airport or the Merlion, we would always have like a activity that we would do afterwards. And yeah, but then we got home pretty late. I think we always got home around 9 after a day's worth of, adventure and fun. So it was great. And then we would, towards the end, when we were getting ready for the presentation to present our uh, the startup, it was more and like less fun and more working with people. I mean, that's still fun, but less, running around, but rather just sitting down and talking to your teammates and making sure your presentation is as best as it could be. So yeah, I think one specific thing that's like more geared towards the Singapore trip is the Malaysia trip. So actually, I know you guys mentioned that there was that 2 day excursion. So for us, it was to Malaysia, and I mean that's another story. It was that was so fun. Yeah, and that was like the typical day. So
Thank you for sharing. It looks like there's another question in the Q&A here about your flight costs. Did you get that for free? If you did any fundraising, what did that look like? You can
right.
speak.
So for my school, it was our first year launching the program, so there was no fundraising, and it was expensive because the flight to Singapore, if you guys know how far Singapore is from Jersey, it's like a 22-hour flight. So I mean, it's going to be expensive, and CIEE doesn't cover for flight expenses, which is important to notice, to keep notice of, and that's why I applied for the scholarship. So because I got the scholarship with CIEE, I felt like there was some more leeway to pay the expensive flight costs. So I highly recommend you guys apply earlier for that scholarship deadline, only because the flights are not covered. And oh yeah, I think I explained like what did each week look like. In the beginning it was a little bit more fun, more adventure, and then the last week we all came together and we were preparing for that last presentation. And my favorite thing I learned is definitely that I am interested in entrepreneurship. I thought I wanted to work that corporate job, but you know, I really enjoyed the feeling of um, coming together with a group and pitching our ideas. And oh, so the next question about the do you fly to Singapore? So I chose to fly as a group. So I think at least half or more people chose to do the same as me. Like we all met up at the airport. It's through Flight Fox. I mean, CIEE gives you all that information that you need, and there's like barely any additional cost. I don't think it was expensive at all to do that. Only because it was my first time traveling alone and I felt nervous. So, that was great. You get to know people earlier, but no worries if you want to fly alone, because there at least half of um the the cohort traveled alone, and there was no issue making friends and such. So, yeah.
What advice would you give to somebody who's considering a program like the one you did?
Oh, I would say the biggest advice is just apply because just apply and then figure it out later, because I definitely didn't think I was going to go, to be honest. I was actually more interested in a different program, but that program got canceled, so I was so demotivated, and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna apply here. But I mean, I ended up getting a scholarship, as I mentioned, and I was like, why not? I mean, it's before my senior year, and I really want to do something. So going to Singapore. So I definitely, my biggest advice is just to first apply. You never know what your circumstances are going to be a few months later, right? So just get it, just get in, get a scholarship, and then decide later. Oh, I did not have any prior knowledge on entrepreneurship in particular. I mean, I did take a few.
Hope you're
So I
muted.
Oh yeah, sorry. There's someone who came into my room. But so I want to do business and I wanted to do like finance or accounting, and I'm applying for that now, but nothing on entrepreneurship. So you don't need any background experiences really. Just the passion, right? um as for the age, pretty much everyone is in high school, so no one's going to be drastically like what are you doing here? It's not like people who've already graduated, and yeah, so everyone like got along, and but as for the age group, I don't think there were any like freshmen. I don't know if freshmen are, yeah, but there were, everyone was like rising sophomores, rising seniors, and maybe there was one student who had a red who was a senior, so she was a, going to be a freshman. And there's, because our, like I mentioned, there were only 16 people in our cohort, so there were in different classes for different age groups. But I think that the hotel rooms were actually assigned by age. So the oldest were together and the youngest were together, for example. I think, yeah, that's how the Singapore trip worked. Oh, so I actually talked to a few people who went to different trips, right? I actually the only person I really talked to honestly was the person who did the three countries, the Berlin, Denmark, and Germany, I believe. And it did sound relatively similar. I mean, the entire purpose of these these programs are to make a startup, so that was always the same. The differences are, of course, the activities. You're not going to be doing the same thing in Germany as you do in Singapore, but the building a business part was the same. And I think in that the other person's program, they got to choose their partners. But again, I think that's relative to the teacher of the course. So
I'm just going to add in that we do try to keep all of our programs and curriculums very localized to whatever region the students are in. So all of their cultural activities and a lot of what they're doing and who they're interacting with will revolve around the area that they're in and whatever's um, relevant to that region. So something to keep in mind, but you might not see as much differentiation on something like an entrepreneurship program as you might in a language and culture program, for instance. We have about 5 minutes left of our wonderful alumni's time, so feel free to pop any questions into the Q&A before she has to run. I can grab this one. For topic programs, you do not need to know the language. We will offer for students that will need some introductory conversational skills, we'll offer some class time so that they have a working knowledge of how to get around and maybe how to order at a restaurant, something like that. But no, it's not a requirement.
And that question is specific to Singapore, actually. So Singapore has 4 official languages, and English is one of them. So if you don't know any other language, like that they speak in Singapore, I mean, everyone pretty much spoke English, so that wasn't an issue. But there were like Chinese immersion classes, I think like two times. So that was a fun experience as well. Um, there was nothing in particular I regretted doing in Singapore because Singapore is a very small country. I felt like by the time I left, I pretty much experienced everything. I mean, that's not possible, but we just did so much in the 3 weeks that there was nothing for me to really regret. Yeah, and there was no experience necessarily, yeah, required. I mean, I've never traveled abroad besides like Canada before, and well, as I mentioned, I had no prior entrepreneurship knowledge, and um, yeah, I like barely speak Chinese, so I there was really nothing you really need. Maybe just minor, like slight interest in the program probably would be best.
I see a question here asking, was there anything you regret not doing while you were in Singapore?
Right. So yeah, like I mentioned, the country's so small, and I felt like I really did everything. But maybe if I had to pick one, it's that I didn't really socialize as well as I should have. I mean, it's not with the people of Singapore. I felt like I approached them a lot, but as for the other students, um, I think Singapore, like because the cohort was so small, 16 people, it should have been really easy for me to talk to like everyone and really get friendly with everyone, but I felt like I only stuck with the people I was comfortable with, which is not great. I In the end, like we all got super close, but if I had taken that step in the beginning, I think it would have been great. So yeah. I, I think I briefly saw a question about if it was a hot country.
Yeah, I answered it, but you can add
Right.
in if you'd like.
Yeah, well, as we're waiting for other people to, ask questions, yeah, Singapore, I could talk for hours about how hot and humid Singapore is. Because I'm from Jersey, I don't really, I mean, even Jersey is pretty humid, I thought, but no, it's nothing really in comparison to Singapore. But the good thing is, like, when I came back from to Jersey, it was like supposed to be really hot. I didn't really feel it at all because I just came back from Singapore. So that's the benefit of that.
The questions floating around there. I see one. Maybe we'll take this last one and then excuse.
Yeah, actually, slight change of plans. My parents came in and told me that I can leave a little later, so maybe I can stick around for longer. But the clothes, definitely want to pick um lighter clothes, of course. I thought Singapore would be chilly at times, but it really isn't. So you really don't need anything but light clothes and maybe a sweater for the airport, right? Not for Singapore. And it does rain occasionally, so maybe an umbrella. Rain wasn't as big of an issue as I thought it would be, but I did go on session one, so maybe that's why. And as for the safety, Singapore is known to be one of the safest countries in the world, and but of course, the program leader told me, um, what what did she tell me? She was like, uh, it's not like no accidents happen, right? It's not because it's not because it's like we should let our guard down just because it's the safest country. So she was always aware of that and very careful with where she was bringing us. But yeah, I mean, I had no experiences with where I felt my safety was threatened. So I mean, Singapore, very safe country. I don't think that's the humidity was a bigger concern, to be honest.
Well, I do want to mention for those of you who might not be aware of what a program leader is, for about every 10 to 12 students, we'll have an adult point of contact who are chaperoning the students and, looking after them if anything comes up. So that's someone that they're in contact with a lot of the time. Oh, one more thing before you get to that question, as you formulate your answer. She also mentioned sessions. We run 2 sessions every summer. They're the exact same. They just happen at 2 different points, depending on which dates work best for you and your student. So keep that in mind when choosing a program. Session 1 starts in early June and session 2 starts in early July. All right.
Yeah, so the room, the hotel room, as I mentioned before, it was very small. But it wasn't to the point where it was uncomfortable because you're only sharing it with one other person, and it really gives you that bonding experience because you guys are so close to each other. And I think the room had like a TV and like a desk area and some storage, so it really has everything you need. It has a bathroom as well, so. Um, So is there time to explore around independently? Definitely. I think for us it was slightly restrictive only because it was the first time the Singapore program was running. So in the session, I was session 1, right? So they were very, very careful. But from what I hear about the session 2 students, they really let the controls little like they let loose on the controls slightly, not to the point where it's like everyone was running around, but to the point where they had more independence. So yeah, I think, and especially in the Denmark, Germany, Berlin, I Germany and Berlin. Anyway, so yeah, I think that I heard that they had a lot of independence, and it's just enough for you guys to feel independent. It's not crazy where you guys are allowed to do whatever, but um, so business meetings. We didn't really go to business meetings to say per se, but we did meet, startup founders, and we had chances to go to startups and look around and ask the owners questions. And sometimes they came to us and we could ask them questions. The attire does not have to be formal or professional at all. I think the only time where that kind of style is necessary is for the pitch, where you guys are presenting your final startup, because we had an audience. I think we had um, a startup CEO, and he was just evaluating our ideas. So it was best to be presentable, but that's the kind of stuff that maybe if you have the expenses, you can spend some money, invest in a good suit in Singapore maybe. So, but oh, as for the money, actually, you get a stipend of I think 250 Singaporean dollars every week. So that's a decent amount. Even after all the food expenses, I thought I had plenty left over to, splurge on some keychains and such. So, that's maybe one way you can afford a student tie. So yeah.
Going back to that previous question, we do want the students to feel a sense of independence on the program, but we also do get a lot of feedback from our past participants that days are pretty packed. They're doing a lot of things. They're getting home tired at the end of the day. We're trying to pack in as much as humanly possible. And on our topic programs, they are only 3 weeks long. So that's something that your student might run into, whereas our language programs are 4 weeks long. So something to keep in mind.
Yeah, I really thought I was being chased every single day. I mean, it was so much fun, but I mean, that's it. It was so much fun. From the minute you wake up to the end of the day, you're just running around and having the adventure of a lifetime. So, oh, hotels are nice. Yeah, it was small, but very, of course, again, it was clean. People were coming in and cleaning for you every day. Amazing. That's amazing for me. And the bathrooms are clean every day. And the hotel had like a lobby. It had a pool actually. So you could go to the pool, and there was a gym. So plenty of people were going to the gym like every day, which I don't understand, but to each their own. And the data plan, I had T-Mobile, so luckily I didn't have to do anything, but I know the first day you get there, or the like pretty much the hour you get there, they take you to a local convenience store and they work the data plan stuff out with everyone. So I think there was like a eSIM situation or like a physical SIM card. Either way, everyone is doing it, so no need to worry on that. I mean, everyone helps you out and such. And it wasn't nerve-wracking to the pitch. So actually, the pitch was pretty nerve-wracking. Yeah, I don't know how else to say it. It was scary. It was my first time doing a pitch, and it was like all of our hard work. So I wanted to make sure it was perfect, and you know, that kind of pressure is hard sometimes. But it was, yeah, that's what I mean by uncomfortable experiences, right? It really got my foot in a place where I wasn't previously comfortable with, and it was oh, I'm here, I'm alive, so it went well. And how did it work? So it was just a day where everyone did their own pitch, and class ended earlier, and we all had fun, and the people who did well got prizes and such, and it was great. And the feedback that the startup CEO gave us was so helpful, and the day before, actually, we were already doing practice runs, practice pitches, so or the a few days before, so it was like it wasn't out of nowhere, right? We were doing these presentations, and we were ready. It was just that it was, of course, the final thing is always nerve-wracking. And oh yeah, personal computers and phones are actually required, or personal phones at least are required, and um, it's a lot more convenient if you guys can use your personal computers. But the thing about the Singaporean heat is sometimes you don't want to carry like that much weight on you. So luckily, the teacher told us when we needed our computers and when we didn't, so we don't have to carry around that luggage every single day. So yeah. Um, yeah, so again, our school, it was our first year running, so we didn't have that option to fundraise. But from what I hear, there are plenty of schools that do these fundraising activities, and our school actually just made a chapter for the Global Navigator Club. So I know there are like they're planning like bake sales and the traditional way to fundraise. And yeah, so I had to pay for the flight out of pocket, well, out of my parents' pocket, and yeah, unfortunate. But I'm sure the future people at my school wouldn't have to pay as much as I did, though.
We do also have some fundraising toolkits that we can share with students that we've put together. So if you are looking for that, just email us at hsabroad@ciee.org and we'll send that information to you. And there will be even more coming in the coming months as well as we prepare for departure. I will add too that it is useful to ask your school or your guidance office if they have any additional funds available to students for something like this, especially if they are applying for a scholarship. And then other external community organizations, oftentimes there are funds available to students that they can take, they just don't know about. So
Right.
encourage your students to ask.
Right. I actually there was a student at the Singapore program who got everything covered, flight and everything, because his school offers something like that, and he did his research. So definitely recommend it. I mean, if you could save thousands of dollars, then I would really do anything. But our school unfortunately didn't have anything.
One more thing I'll add is that we offer all past participants a unique referral code, just like the one that you see on the screen. And students get a little something back for future participants and travelers that use their code. So that's another way you can make back some of the expenses you had to pay out of pocket for your CIE experience. So definitely, if you haven't opened an application yet and you're interested in doing something with us, take this code off the screen and open your application.
Right.
And you'll
also,
get $200 off.
yay! And I'll also get $200 off, so please help me out. And I think there was, if you apply earlier than the deadline, I think you get enrolled in a raffle for free like flight. Yeah, I knew.
December
Okay.
1st.
Okay, yes.
Submit your application by December 1st to be entered into the free flight raffle. Yeah, we're running one this year.
Yeah. So I mean the deadline is fastly approaching, but still have some time, so why not?
Are there any other questions? I do want to be mindful of everybody's time. If so, please pop it in the chat. If not, we may wrap up.
So for the estimated amount of number of applicants, every program is really different. I heard Japan had like hundreds of kids, while Singapore had 16. So 16 and then like another 16 the second half. So very small. But yeah, I think these correct me if I'm wrong, but I think these like programs where it's geared toward like entrepreneurship, for example, are slightly smaller than those language programs, only because I think the language programs offer a higher scholarship. I'm not sure if that's the reason, but maybe it's one of the reasons. And yeah, but it's a different community, really. I mean, I might be slightly biased, but with hundreds of kids, are you really knowing you really knowing all of them? No, no, no. But in Singapore, you get to really know everyone. Like I said, I do regret that I didn't approach them sooner, but by the end, we're all really close. So
yeah, we do have different capacity on each program. In some bigger cities like the language programs in Barcelona and Madrid, you might find hundreds of students per session. If you want a more intimate experience, something like Singapore could be a great idea. And if you want more suggestions, you can always reach out to us and we'll let you know. But yep, the December deadline is here on the screen. And if you do end up missing that, I know it's in just a few weeks. The final cutoff for the scholarship deadlines this year is January 24th. So be sure to get them in as soon as you can. Oh my goodness, my cat.
I don't even hear it. It's a good.
Good. A VPN. So all details about whatever program you're on will be released to you a little further on in the process. So once you're accepted onto the program, we'll have some orientations with you and you'll have everything that you need. So don't worry about VPNs just yet.
Oh, and this is a brief. No one asked the question, but as for if you're sick, right? There were a ton of people who actually got sick, considering there are only 16 kids, because maybe the air or it's a new environment, so you really never know. But the people who were sick, they were immediately taken care of. Honestly, I was really surprised because we all had the insurance. I forgot the insurance name, but we all had the insurance that they prepared for us before we left, and it was taken care of like immediately. So the very hour a student said they were sick, they were taken to the hospital and they're getting checkups, and they got to spend the day at the hotel room, and it was really surprising, honestly. I thought it would be a more lengthy process, especially with insurance stuff, but it was addressed really quickly and it made me feel secure. you know, but I never got sick, but in case I did, I wasn't scared at all.
What do we think, Sharon?
Yeah, well, there aren't any more questions. We definitely say thank you for hanging out with us and learning more about Sana's experience in Singapore. Definitely a place that I would love to go. Absolutely. But yeah, there's no more questions. We will dismiss you guys, but you know, keep in touch. On Wednesdays, we have our Wednesday webinars, and as we get closer to the deadlines, we'll begin to have application workshops. You know, we know that the school year is busy, and you're trying to get those applications in, and you can always contact us by phone or email, and somebody from your region or territory will get back to you within 24 to 48 hours. And just, you know, stay in touch. If you want to get connected with more alumni, we're able to do that as well. And just want to thank Sana again for sharing your experience and being here with us for 45 whole minutes. We definitely appreciate that. We were expecting you to leave early, but thank you for sticking it out. And I think we have maybe, is this today's the last day for the virtual fair, I'm guessing? Yeah, so we've completed our virtual fair. And so if you want more information on other programs that you weren't able to sit in on, again, give us a call, talk to an enrollment coordinator, and allow us to support you throughout the application process. We know you guys have a lot of questions, so thank you.
Thank you all so much. Have a great night, everybody.